Yeah, Mr. Rowe, my name is Stewart Howe. I'm with Infowars.com, and
I saw you earlier today.
yeah, I've been following you around today, I confess. I'd like to give you an opportunity, if you'd like to take it, to come clean a little bit, if you will, about the pretext for following the agenda that was spelled out in the PNAC documents. This is a presidential election year. This is the time when we, as American citizens, come together to consider who would best represent us in addressing our concerns as a nation. But do we actually have the power to put the person of our choice into the Oval Office? The answer may surprise you. Thousands of people began gathering hours before the event.
Ron Paul 2012.
I cannot think of a type of American of goodwill that was not represented here to some degree. To hear and cheer their man of the hour, a country doctor from Texas.
There's no authority in the Constitution for the executive branch, and particularly the president, to go to war without permission by the Congress and without a declaration of war.
With many millions of Americans very involved in the effort to put Ron Paul into the Oval Office, it's become increasingly very clear that there's a coordinated effort between various branches of the mainstream media that would demonize, marginalize, and downright vilify Ron Paul and his supporters. What is it about Ron Paul's message that would inspire every separate component of corporate media to come together in a unified and coordinated response to bring down his message? What is it that has them so scared?
We're in an economic mess. We have a lot of problems going on. I think the number one cause of the problems we have today is the fact that we have not had enough people in Washington who took their oath of office seriously and obeyed the Constitution.
In an effort to understand why corporate media is so determined to destroy any chance Ron Paul has of making it into the Oval Office, I caught up with Hollywood director and producer Cristo Garcia. Cristo, why is the corporate media out to get Ron Paul?
He's the enemy.
This sweet old doctor from Texas is the enemy?
Ron Paul represents everything that goes against the status quo. If you take a look at the structure of all news media organizations as they exist today, there's been a very steady consolidation over the last 30 years or so. Whereas there may have been 55 news organizations running independently in the early 1980s, now you've got down to about 5 or 6. And when you take a closer look at the corporate structure, MSNBC is owned by parent company NBC, which is owned by General Electric, which is one of the nation's largest defense contractors and depends on these massive budgets that come, from Washington and are reinforced by the Federal Reserve. They're moving towards globalism, and they depend on these tax dollars and deficits that are mounted up on the backs of the people in each of these countries. Therefore, you're not going to see a lot of support for Ron Paul in the mainstream media. Most young people realize that the fix is in.
Our sold-out elected officials and would-be representatives need to be made aware that we fully intend to expose them, replace them, and hold them accountable. Here are a few examples of me, an average citizen, attempting to do just that. This is the first peer-reviewed scientific journal paperwork regarding the evidence, the vetted, verified evidence of thermate, military-grade explosives in the dust of the World Trade Center. It constitutes treason, and we'd like you to have this. It's very important, because if it's not followed up on, that will constitute misprision of treason. And we know you want to do the right thing, and it's a very, very important issue. Senator Kerry, yesterday you were given peer-reviewed evidence, the paper, peer-reviewed and published.
I know, and I've got my people looking at it.
Have you had a chance to look at the cover?
I have not personally, but they are looking at the paper you gave me.
Briefly in closing, you are aware that that would constitute treason, and that it should be seriously looked at.
What are you saying to me?
That if there was treason committed by virtue of the thermate in the trade centers, that it should be very seriously looked into.
take a look.
Thank you. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. David Frum.
Yeah, no, the one thing I regret about our last conversation is I didn't say to you what my friend Christopher Hitchens did. You should off.
Do you think that this hoax that is the 9/11 investigation is going to keep on going, or could you perhaps, see that there'll be culpability fears?
Turn off the camera.
Now it's assaulting me, and I have it on film.
I don't want to be on your camera.
So here we are. People are waking up, and perhaps more importantly, people are coming together and bonding across lines of ethnicity, race, religion, social standing. That's what will be the downfall of the elites.
I'm tired of these wars. Our Marine Corps is tired of these wars. Ron Paul is the only candidate who represents any change. We need real change. We don't need more of the same. Our country cannot stand any more of the same. We need real change.
The question we have to ask ourselves is, are we now ready to band together and make a change in the world? If you're watching this right now, I believe I know the answer to that question. For Infowars.com, I'm Stewart Howe, and I'll see you on the front lines.